Hello, welcome to the online lecture again. Today we'll talk about the ecosystem. As you remember, we finished talking about evolution, and hope you still remember that evolution occurs in population, not in individual. Since evolution occurs in population and ecosystem is composed of different populations, that's why it is the most logical sequence. After the evolution, we will talk about the ecosystem. So ecosystem consists of two components, biotic and abiotic. The abiotic component of the ecosystem include sunlight, inorganic nutrients, soil type, water, temperature, and wind. Biotic component, they are the different populations and of species that form a community. So biotic component, they're basically living organisms. Abiotic, they are the non-living organisms. For the biotic component, the different populations living in the ecosystem, we can classify them according to their food source, what kind of food they consume. Autotroph, or the self-feeder, meaning that they can produce their own food. They use the inorganic nutrient to produce the food that they use. They are also known as producers. Okay, don't mix it up with the movie maker, producer. This is the producer that can make their own food. They usually require the ultimate energy source. They usually require the ultimate energy source, which is the sun. An example would be green plants and algae. They carry out photosynthesis that provide the most of the organic nutrient on the earth. So whenever we talk about autotroph, we are mostly talking about photosynthetic organism. Maybe plant, maybe algae, maybe some kind of a cyanobacteria. All these they can carry out a photosynthesis by themselves. As long as they have chloroplast, then they can do that. Heterotroph. Heterotroph meaning that other feeder, they feed on other stuff. They need an outside source for their organic nutrients, and because they consume food, we call it consumers. So remember, autotroph, aka also known as the producers. Heterotroph, also known as the consumers. We have three types of consumers or three types of heterotroph. Herbivores, they feed on plants or algae. So they are, I don't want to say this, but they are like vegetarians. So carnivores, they feed on other animals. And omnivores, they feed on both plant and animals. So human being is an example of omnivores. And then we have, other than autotroph, heterotroph, we have decomposers. Decomposers, they are actually they're actually an example of heterotroph. They are bacteria and fungi. For example, molds and mushroom. Why do we call them the heterotroph? Because they break down or feed on non-living organic matter. They feed on non-living organic matter, for example, dead body. Then they release the inorganic matter back to the producer, so that the producer can use that as a nutrient. Detritus, what is detritus? They are the partially decomposed matter in water or soil. So these are the food for the earthworm and beetles and termites and stuff. We call these Detritivores. Detritivores feeds on detritus, and detritus, they are the partially decomposed matter. So detritivores are found in all ecosystems. It is very important to have decomposers and the detritivores, because think about it this way: if we, after we die, if we don't decompose, what will happen? Our Earth will accumulate a lot of trash or undecomposed matters. The undecomposed matter will accumulate and pile up, and then the inorganic matter, or the nutrient, the inorganic matter, cannot be recycled. If the inorganic matter cannot be recycled back to the producer, then all the producer will die. When all the producers die, then all the living organisms on this earth will die. Therefore, it is very important to have detritivore, or the decomposers. So we have producers, plants, and cyanobacteria, or the algae, blue-green algae. And we have herbivore. We have insects, or animals that eat plants only. And then we have carnivores that eat other living organisms. And then we have decomposers. This is mushroom. And then we have bacteria as well. Okay, chemical cycling. The flow, energy flow, and chemical cycling. Remember, I mentioned the importance of having the decomposers and the decomposers, because we want to recycle the inorganic nutrient, inorganic matter back to the producer. How do we do this? We use the chemical cycling to do this, and also we will also keep track of the energy flow. The energy flow begins with the sun. The sun is our ultimate energy source, and for that you have to think about the first law of thermodynamics that we learned earlier in the semester. The first law of thermodynamics states that we cannot create or destroy energy, but we can only convert energy from one form to another form. But during the conversion of energy from one form to the other form, usually we have energy loss as heat during the conversion. So there is no 100% efficient conversion of energy. So the energy flow follows the first law of thermodynamics as well. When the producer absorbs solar energy, some energy will be lost through the body of the producer. And when the consumer feeds on producer to acquire energy from the producer, the consumer will also have some energy loss in the process of consuming the producer. And then the flow or the cycle continued, so that more and more energy will be lost. And the chemical cycling begins with producer taking the inorganic matter, inorganic nutrient from the environment, and then for consumer, after consumer feed on the producer, then we will take all the inorganic nutrient in the producer and to incorporate into the consumers. And then when other consumer feed other carnivore or other consumer feed on those consumer, then the chemical will be transferred to other consumer. Until the consumer is dead, then the decomposer will break down the consumers and to recycle those inorganic nutrients back to the producer. So that is the overview of the energy flow and chemical cycle. We will go to the details in the next video.